Alone and uncertain, Eliza faced a choice between two paths on the Wagon Trail, a promise of safety with a grizzled giant or the pull of her heart toward another. Her fellow travelers offered advice, pushing her toward the security of a protector. No clear direction. No easy answers. Just the open trail and two men with different dreams. She hesitated, unsure which future to embrace. But as the journey continued, a quiet strength grew within her, a strength that guided her steps. She thought she had to choose between them. But the path held surprises she never imagined. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe if you believe in the power of choosing your own path. The Wagon Trail stretched west, a line of people seeking new lives. It was late in the 1800s and the land was waking from winter. The ground was soft and the air had a hint of warmth. The travelers moved slowly, wheels creaking under the weight of their hopes and fears. Eliza Thornton walked among them. She was a woman alone, with quiet strength in her steps. Her eyes were set on the horizon, but her mind was back east. She had left behind whispers and scandal. Her past was a shadow she could not shake, but here, on the trail, she hoped to find something new. Amos Granger led the wagons. He was a large man with a rough beard and a voice that carried. People listened when he spoke, and he kept order among the travelers. Amos was known for his unyielding nature. He offered Eliza security, a proposal wrapped in protection and expectation. Many thought she should accept. A woman alone needed safety, they said. But Eliza was not sure. Caleb Mercer rode ahead. He scouted the path, his eyes always searching. Caleb was a man of few words. He kept to himself, and others spoke of him in hushed tones. There were stories about his past, but no one knew the truth. He was a mystery, and that drew Eliza's attention. The journey began with a mix of hope and tension. Eliza felt it in the air, between the chatter of the travelers and the creak of the wagons. She noticed the way Amos watched her, his eyes like a question she did not want to answer. She also saw Caleb always at the edge of the group, observing but never intruding. As the trail stretched on, Eliza found her place among the travelers. She helped where she could, sharing what little she had. Her quiet strength earned her small nods of respect. Yet, the whispers of her past followed her like a shadow. The other travelers talked, their words a constant reminder of why she had left the East. Eliza walked each day, her feet carrying her away from the life she had known. She thought of Amos and Caleb, two men as different as the paths before her. Amos was solid, a promise of safety and order. Caleb was like the wind, unpredictable but free. Eliza felt pulled in both directions, unsure of which way to turn. The landscape around them was changing. The snow melted, revealing green beneath the white. Trees began to bud, and the sky felt whiter each day. It was a time of change, both in the world and within Eliza. She felt something inside her begin to thaw, like the land itself. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Eliza sat by a small fire. The camp was settling, the travelers weary from the day's trek. Amos approached, his shadow long in the firelight. He spoke of the journey, of the challenges ahead. He offered her a place beside him, a future together. His words were steady, like him. They promised security but also felt like chains. Caleb watched from a distance. He cleaned his rifle, eyes flicking to Eliza now and then. He was a figure of quiet strength, a contrast to Amos's commanding presence. Caleb spoke little, but when he did, his words were thoughtful. He warned Eliza of the dangers ahead, not just on the trail but in the choices she faced. Eliza listened to both men, feeling the weight of their expectations. She knew she would have to choose, but not yet. For now, the trail was her focus. Each step took her further from her past and closer to whatever lay ahead. The days passed and the travelers moved west. The rhythm of the journey settled into their bones. Eliza found herself watching Caleb more often. She noticed the way he moved, the careful way he observed the land. There was something calming about his presence, a quiet assurance that contrasted with Amos's loud authority. Rumors about Caleb drifted through the camp. Some said he was running from something, others that he had lost everything before joining the trail. Eliza heard these stories, but they only intrigued her more. She wondered what truths lay behind his guarded eyes. The trail was not easy. There were days when the rain soaked through clothes and the mud made each step heavy. Nights were cold, the stars sharp in the clear sky. Yet there was a sense of purpose among the travelers. They were heading to a new life, and that hope kept them moving. Eliza felt that hope too. It was a small flame inside her, growing each day. She thought of her past less and less. The whispers of scandal faded with each mile. Here, she could be someone new. She could make choices for herself, not based on what others expected. The tension between Eliza, Amos, and Caleb was a quiet undercurrent. It was there in the looks Amos gave her, in the way Caleb lingered at the edge of the camp. Eliza sensed it, a decision waiting to be made. But the trail was long and there was time yet to decide. As they traveled, Eliza found moments of peace. She walked beside the wagons, listening to the sound of the wheels and the calls of birds. The land was vast and open, a canvas waiting for new stories. Eliza felt a connection to it, a sense of belonging she had never felt before. The journey west was just beginning, but already it was changing her. Eliza Thornton, once a woman defined by her past, was finding her place in the world. She was learning to trust her own strength, to listen to her heart rather than the whispers of others. The landscape continued to change, and so did Eliza. She was no longer just a traveler on the trail. She was part of something bigger, a journey that was as much about finding herself as it was about reaching a destination. As the sun set each day, Eliza looked to the horizon. It was a reminder of the path ahead, of the choices yet to be made. She knew the journey would not be easy, but she was ready to face it. With each step, she moved closer to a new life, one she would shape with her own hands. And so, the wagon train moved westward, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of many. Among them, Eliza walked, a quiet strength in a world full of possibilities. The journey was just beginning, but already it was clear that this was more than a path through the wilderness. It was a path to a new self, a new life, and a new story waiting to be told. As the days on the trail passed, Eliza felt the weight of her choices more heavily. The path was not just a line through the land, it was a line through her life, dividing what was from what could be. Each day she thought about Amos and Caleb, two men who represented different futures. Amos was solid and sure. He walked with purpose, always at the center of the camp. He knew what he wanted and made it clear to Eliza. His offer was safety, a promise of security in a world that could be harsh and unforgiving. Many women in the camp whispered that she should accept. They said a woman alone needed a man's protection. Yet Eliza hesitated. Her heart was not settled. When she looked at Caleb, she saw something different. Caleb was quiet, often at the edge of the group. He spoke little, but his presence was steady. There was a calm strength in him, a quiet understanding that drew Eliza in. Rumors about Caleb floated around the campfires at night. Some said he had a dark past, that he was running from something he could not escape. Others said he had once been a family man with a home and a life that had crumbled. Eliza listened to these stories, trying to piece together the truth. Caleb rode ahead each day, scouting the path. He watched the land closely, reading signs that others missed. His eyes were sharp and he seemed to carry a map in his mind. Eliza admired his skill, the way he moved through the world with quiet confidence. At night, the travelers gathered around fires. They shared stories and news, voices blending with the crackle of burning wood. Eliza sat among them, part of the group yet apart. The whispering never stopped. Her past was a cloud that followed her, a constant reminder of why she had left the East. Eliza's mind often wandered back to those whispers. They spoke of a scandal, of choices she had made that others did not understand. Here on the trail, those whispers were quieter. Yet they were still there, like an echo she could not escape. The camp was a small world and news traveled quickly. Eliza knew that her indecision was a topic of discussion. People watched her, curious about which man she would choose. Some were sympathetic, while others judged her silently. But Eliza knew she had to live with her choice, not them. One evening, as the firelight flickered, Eliza found herself sitting near Caleb. He was quiet, as usual, eyes fixed on the flames. She felt a pull to speak, to ask him about his past. But the words caught in her throat. Caleb seemed to sense her hesitation. He looked at her, his gaze steady and unreadable. It was Caleb who broke the silence. He spoke of the trail ahead, of the challenges they would face. His voice was calm, like the river they had crossed that day. Eliza listened, drawn to the way he saw the world. He did not offer promises or security, only honesty. Amos watched from across the fire. His eyes were on Eliza, a question unspoken. He saw her talking with Caleb and frowned. Amos was not a man who liked uncertainty. He wanted answers, decisions made and paths chosen. Eliza knew this, and it added to the pressure she felt. As the night deepened, the camp settled into quiet. Eliza lay in her bedroll, staring at the stars. Her mind was full of questions, her heart full of doubt. She thought of Amos, of the life he offered. It was a life of safety and order, something she had never really known. But then she thought of Caleb. His presence was like a gentle breeze, a promise of freedom and possibility. With him, the future felt open, like the horizon they were chasing. Eliza wanted that feeling, the chance to choose her own path. The next morning, the camp woke early. The travelers packed their things, ready to continue the journey. Eliza moved through the routine, her mind still on the choices before her. She glanced at Amos, who was organizing the wagons, his voice firm and authoritative. Caleb was already on his horse, ready to scout ahead. He nodded to Eliza as he passed, a silent acknowledgement. She watched him ride away, feeling the pull of the unknown. He was a mystery, and part of her wanted to unravel it. As they traveled, the whispers around Eliza grew louder. People talked of her indecision, of the two men and the choice she faced. They speculated about her past, weaving tales from half-truths and imagination. Eliza tried to ignore it, but the words clung to her like dust. The weather changed, clouds gathering in the sky. A storm was coming, both in the air and in Eliza's life. She felt it in the wind, in the way the world seemed to hold its breath. The choice she faced was not just about Amos or Caleb. It was about her future, about who she wanted to be. Eliza walked with the wagons, her steps steady but her mind in turmoil. The land around them was vast and open, a reminder of the possibilities ahead. Yet, each step brought her closer to a decision she was not ready to make. The storm broke in the afternoon. Rain fell in sheets, turning the trail to mud. The travelers struggled, their progress slow and difficult. Eliza was soaked through, her hair plastered to her skin. But the rain was a relief, washing away the dust and the whispers, if only for a moment. Amos took charge, his voice cutting through the chaos. He directed the travelers, his leadership clear and commanding. Eliza watched him, seeing the strength in his actions. He was a man who could be relied upon, a pillar in the storm. Caleb was there too, moving among the wagons with quiet efficiency. He helped where needed, his presence a steadying force. Eliza noticed the way he worked, his calm demeanor in the face of the storm. It was a different kind of strength, one that spoke to her heart. As the rain eased, the camp settled for the night. Eliza sat by the fire, the warmth a comfort after the cold. She thought of the day, of the choices she had seen in action. Amos and Caleb, two paths before her, each with its own challenges and promises. Eliza knew she had to choose. The whispers would not stop until she did. But more than that, she needed to choose for herself, to find her own path in the wide, open land. The storm had passed, but the decision remained, a quiet thunder in her heart. The morning after the storm, the air was crisp and clear. The rain had washed the world clean, leaving a fresh start. The travelers began to pack up the camp, ready to face the next part of their journey. Spirits were high despite the challenges they faced the day before. Eliza felt a sense of renewal as she moved through the camp. The storm had cleared her mind, but the choice between Amos and Caleb still loomed large. Her heart was torn, and she knew she needed to decide. But for now, the trail demanded her focus. The wagon train reached a wide river by midday. The water ran swift and deep, a barrier on their path west. The travelers gathered at the edge, their faces marked by uncertainty. The river crossing would be a test of their strength and resolve. Amos took charge, his voice loud and clear. He organized the wagons, setting a plan for the crossing. Each family prepared, gathering their belongings tightly. The air was tense, filled with the sounds of nervous chatter and braying animals. Caleb rode up, his eyes scanning the river. He spoke to Amos, offering his observations. There was a place downstream, he said, where the current was less fierce. It would be safer to cross there, but it meant a longer detour. Amos listened, considering the advice. Eliza watched the exchange from a distance. She saw the differences in the two men. Amos was firm and direct, a leader who made decisions quickly. Caleb was thoughtful, weighing his words carefully. Each had their own way of facing challenges. As the travelers began to move, Eliza felt the tension in the air. The river was a danger they could not ignore. She helped where she could, her hands busy with small tasks. But her mind was on the water, on the choice of whom to trust. The first wagon entered the river, the wheels dipping into the fast-flowing water. The animals strained, their hooves finding uncertain purchase on the riverbed. The travelers held their breath, watching with wide eyes. Amos led from the front, his presence a steadying force. He was on horseback, guiding the wagons with a firm hand. His confidence was reassuring, a rock in the swirling water. Eliza saw his strength, the way he commanded respect and attention. Further down the line, Caleb worked with another group. He moved quietly, speaking to the travelers with calm assurance. He helped a young boy who had lost his grip, pulling him back to safety. Eliza admired the way Caleb acted, his actions speaking louder than words. The crossing was slow, each step a battle against the current. The river was relentless, pulling at wheels and feet. The travelers fought against it, determined to reach the other side. Eliza felt the pull of the water, a reminder of the choices she faced. Amos shouted orders, his voice cutting through the noise. He directed the travelers, his leadership clear. But the river was stronger than expected. A wagon hit a rock, tipping dangerously. The family inside screamed, clutching at their belongings. Eliza saw it happen, her heart in her throat. Without thinking, she moved toward the danger. Others hesitated, unsure of what to do. But Eliza's feet carried her forward, her determination stronger than her fear. Caleb was there too, moving with swift purpose. He reached the wagon, his hands steady as he helped the family climb to safety. Eliza joined him, her hands finding purchase on the wetwood. Together, they worked to right the wagon, their movements in sync. Amos arrived, his presence a stabilizing force. He helped pull the wagon back on course, his strength a match for the river's pull. The travelers cheered as the wagon reached the bank, a collective sigh of relief passing through the crowd. Eliza felt a rush of emotions, her heart pounding in her chest. The river had tested them, but they had succeeded. She looked at Amos and Caleb, two men who had shown their strength in different ways. Her decision felt no clearer, but her respect for both had grown. As the last wagon crossed, the travelers regrouped on the far bank. They were wet and tired, but their spirits were high. The river was behind them, a challenge overcome. Eliza felt a sense of accomplishment, a small victory on their long journey. The camp settled for the night, the travelers weary but relieved. Eliza sat by the fire, her mind replaying the day's events. She thought of Amos and Caleb, of the way they had each handled the crisis. Their strengths were different, but both were needed. Amos approached, his expression thoughtful. He spoke to Eliza, his voice calm. He acknowledged her bravery, the way she had acted without hesitation. There was respect in his words, a recognition of her strength. Caleb joined them, his presence quiet and steady. He spoke of the river, of the challenges yet to come. His words were measured, a reflection of his nature. Eliza listened, drawn to the honesty in his voice. The night deepened and the camp grew quiet. The travelers slept, their dreams filled with the promise of the West. Eliza lay in her bedroll, her mind still on the choice she faced. The river had been a test, but the real challenge lay within her. She thought of the journey ahead, of the miles yet to travel. The path was uncertain, the horizon wide and open. But Eliza felt a growing confidence, a belief in her ability to choose. The decision was hers to make, and she would face it with the same strength she had shown today. As the stars wheeled overhead, Eliza felt a sense of peace. The river was behind them, but the journey continued. She was not alone. Amos and Caleb were beside her, each offering a different path. It was up to her to decide which one to follow. And so, the wagon train moved on, each step carrying them closer to their dreams. Eliza walked among them, a quiet strength in her step. The choice was still before her, but she was ready to face it. The journey was far from over, and she was determined to see it through. The days on the trail continued, each one bringing new challenges and small victories. The travelers moved through the wide, open land, their eyes set on the horizon. The river crossing was behind them, but the journey was far from over. Eliza felt a change within herself. The river had tested her, and she had risen to the challenge. Her confidence grew with each step, a quiet strength that others began to notice. She was no longer just a woman on the trail. She was part of the group, her presence respected and valued. Caleb and Eliza found moments to talk as they walked. Their conversations were quiet, filled with shared thoughts and small smiles. There was an understanding between them, a connection that grew stronger with each day. Caleb spoke of the land, of the paths ahead, and the dangers they might face. Eliza listened, drawn to his calm and steady nature. One afternoon, as the sun hung high in the sky, a small group of travelers gathered around a wagon. A young girl had fallen ill, her face pale and her eyes feverish. Her mother was frantic, unsure of what to do. The girl lay on a bed of blankets, her breathing shallow and labored. Eliza stepped forward, her heart going out to the child. She knelt beside the girl, her hands gentle as she checked for signs of illness. The mother watched, hope and fear mingling in her eyes. Eliza spoke softly, her voice soothing as she reassured the worried woman. Caleb joined them, his presence a comfort. He offered water and words of encouragement, his manner calm and supportive. Together, they cared for the girl, their actions a testament to their growing bond. Eliza felt a sense of purpose, a reminder of her own strength and capability. As the sun began to set, the girl's fever broke. Her breathing eased and color returned to her cheeks. The mother thanked Eliza, tears of relief in her eyes. Eliza smiled, her heart full. She had helped, made a difference. It was a moment of connection, of shared humanity that touched her deeply. Amos watched from a distance, his expression thoughtful. He saw the way Eliza moved among the travelers, her actions speaking louder than words. Her strength was quiet but undeniable, a force that drew respect and admiration. That night, the camp settled into its usual rhythm. The travelers gathered around fires, sharing stories and laughter. Eliza sat with Caleb, their conversation easy and familiar. They spoke of the day's events, of the young girl and her recovery. There was a warmth between them, a sense of shared purpose. Amos approached, his presence a reminder of the choice Eliza faced. He spoke to her, his voice steady and respectful. He acknowledged her actions, her bravery in helping the girl. There was a hint of admiration in his tone, a recognition of her strength. Yet Amos also spoke of the future of the life he offered. His words were carefully chosen, a reminder of the security he could provide. Eliza listened, aware of the weight of his expectations. She knew the choice was hers, but the decision was not easy. The next morning, the wagon train moved on. The land was changing, the horizon shifting as they traveled further west. The travelers were a small world, bound together by their shared journey. Eliza felt a part of something larger, a community that valued her for who she was. As they walked, Eliza found herself thinking of Caleb and Amos. The decision was still before her, a quiet question in her heart. Caleb was a mystery, a man with a past he did not share. Yet his presence was a comfort, a steadying force in her life. Amos was clear and direct, his intentions known. He offered security, a life of order and stability. It was a tempting offer, one that many women would accept without hesitation. But Eliza was not like many women. She wanted more than safety. She wanted freedom, the chance to choose her own path. As the day wore on, the travelers faced another challenge. The trail narrowed, the land rising steeply on either side. It was a difficult passage, the wagons struggling on the uneven ground. The travelers worked together, their efforts a testament to their determination. Eliza moved among them, helping where she could. Caleb was there too, his presence a calm in the chaos. He guided the travelers, his voice steady and reassuring. Eliza admired the way he worked, his actions speaking of quiet strength. Amos directed the effort, his leadership clear and commanding. He was a rock in the storm, a force that kept the group moving forward. Eliza saw his strength, the way he inspired confidence in those around him. The trail was difficult, but the travelers pushed on. Eliza felt the strain, her body tired but her spirit strong. The land was vast and open, a reminder of the possibilities ahead. She walked with purpose, each step a choice, a decision to move forward. That evening, as the camp settled for the night, Eliza found herself by the fire. She thought of the day, of the challenges they had faced and overcome. Her mind was on Caleb and Amos, two men who represented different futures. Caleb joined her, his presence a comfort. They spoke of the journey of the land and the path ahead. There was a warmth in his voice, a promise of understanding and support. Eliza felt drawn to him, to the freedom and possibility he represented. Amos approached, his expression thoughtful. He spoke of the future, of the life he offered. His words were clear, his intentions known. Eliza listened, aware of the choice she faced. It was a decision that would shape her future, a choice between security and freedom. As the stars appeared overhead, Eliza felt a sense of peace. The journey was far from over, but she was not alone. Caleb and Amos were beside her, each offering a different path. The choice was hers to make, and she was ready to face it. The night was quiet, the camp at rest. Eliza lay in her bedroll, her mind on the journey ahead. The path was uncertain, but she felt a growing confidence in her ability to choose. She was not just a woman on the trail. She was a part of something larger, a journey that was as much about finding herself as it was about reaching a destination. And so, the wagon train moved on, each step carrying them closer to their dreams. Eliza walked among them, her heart full of hope and possibility. The choice was still before her, but she was ready to face it. The journey was far from over, but she was determined to see it through. The wagon train continued its journey, moving steadily west. The land was changing, the air warmer, and the travelers felt the shift. Spirits were high, but the path ahead was still uncertain. The trail was long, and challenges lay around every bend. One morning, the travelers reached a fork in the trail. It was a decision point, two paths diverging into the unknown. The choice was not just about the land but about their future. The travelers gathered, their voices a mix of curiosity and concern. Amos stood at the center, his presence a steady force. He spoke of the options, weighing the risks and benefits of each path. One way was shorter but rough, the other longer but safer. The decision was important, and the group turned to him for guidance. Caleb rode up, his eyes scanning the horizon. He dismounted, joining the discussion. His voice was calm, offering insights into the terrain. The travelers listened, valuing his experience and perspective. Eliza watched the two men, each offering their own wisdom. Amos was direct, his words firm and decisive. Caleb was thoughtful, his observations careful and considered. Both paths had merit, and the choice was not easy. As the travelers debated, Eliza felt the weight of her own choices. The fork in the trail was a symbol of the decision she faced. Amos offered security, a life of stability and order. Caleb represented freedom, a chance to forge her own path. The discussion continued, the group divided in their opinions. Eliza listened, her mind turning over the options. She thought of the journey, of the challenges they had faced together. The path ahead was uncertain, but the choice was hers to make. Finally, Amos turned to the group, his voice carrying authority. He proposed a vote, a way to decide the path as a community. The travelers agreed, their voices rising in a chorus of assent. It was a fair way, a choice made together. Eliza watched as the votes were cast, each traveler making their choice. Her heart was steady, her mind clear. She knew the decision was important not just for the group but for herself. It was a moment of truth, a chance to choose her own way. The votes were counted and the decision made. The group would take the longer, safer path. It was a choice of caution, a decision that valued security over speed. The travelers accepted it, their trust in Amos and Caleb unshaken. Eliza felt a mix of relief and anticipation. The decision was made, but the journey continued. The path was clear, but her own choice remained. Amos and Caleb stood beside her, each offering a different future. As the wagon train moved on, Eliza found herself walking with Caleb. Their steps matched, their conversation easy and familiar. They spoke of the decision, of the path ahead. Eliza felt a sense of peace, a quiet understanding between them. Caleb spoke of the land, his words painting a picture of the world around them. He talked of the possibilities of the freedom that lay in choosing one's own path. Eliza listened, drawn to his vision of the future. Amos joined them, his presence a reminder of the choice Eliza faced. He spoke of the journey, of the challenges yet to come. His words were steady, offering safety and security. Eliza valued his strength, his ability to lead. As the sun climbed high, the travelers reached a stretch of difficult terrain. The land was rough, the path narrow and winding. The wagons struggled, their wheels catching on rocks and roots. The travelers worked together, their efforts a testament to their determination. Eliza moved among them, helping where she could. Her hands were busy, her mind focused on the task at hand. Caleb was there too, his presence a calm in the chaos. He guided the travelers, his voice a steadying force. Amos directed the effort, his leadership clear and commanding. He was a rock in the storm, a force that kept the group moving forward. Eliza admired his strength, the way he inspired confidence in those around him. The travelers pushed on, their progress slow but steady. Eliza felt the strain, her body tired but her spirit strong. The land was vast and open, a reminder of the possibilities ahead. She walked with purpose, each step a choice, a decision to move forward. That evening, as the camp settled for the night, Eliza found herself by the fire. She thought of the day, of the challenges they had faced and overcome. Her mind was on Caleb and Amos, two men who represented different futures. Caleb joined her, his presence a comfort. They spoke of the journey, of the land and the path ahead. There was a warmth in his voice, a promise of understanding and support. Eliza felt drawn to him, to the freedom and possibility he represented. Amos approached, his expression thoughtful. He spoke of the future, of the life he offered. His words were clear, his intentions known. Eliza listened, aware of the choice she faced. It was a decision that would shape her future, a choice between security and freedom. As the stars appeared overhead, Eliza felt a sense of peace. The journey was far from over, but she was not alone. Caleb and Amos were beside her, each offering a different path. The choice was hers to make, and she was ready to face it. The night was quiet, the camp at rest. Eliza lay in her bedroll, her mind on the journey ahead. The path was uncertain, but she felt a growing confidence in her ability to choose. She was not just a woman on the trail. She was a part of something larger, a journey that was as much about finding herself as it was about reaching a destination. And so, the wagon train moved on, each step carrying them closer to their dreams. Eliza walked among them, her heart full of hope and possibility. The choice was still before her, but she was ready to face it. The journey was far from over, but she was determined to see it through. As the wagon train moved further along the chosen path, the land began to change again. The travelers could feel the shift in the air. The journey had been long, and each day brought new challenges. Yet, the promise of a fresh start kept them going. Eliza felt the journey wearing on her, but she also felt stronger with each mile. She was no longer the uncertain woman who had stepped onto the trail. She had faced challenges and had grown into someone who knew her own mind. But the choice between Amos and Caleb still hung over her, a decision she knew she had to make. One afternoon, the group stopped to rest in a small grove of trees. The shade was a welcome relief from the hot sun. As the travelers tended to their needs, Eliza found a quiet spot to gather her thoughts. She needed a moment away from the constant movement and noise. As she sat, a familiar voice called her name. It was a woman from the wagon train, a face from her past. Eliza's heart skipped. Clara was from the east, and seeing her brought back a flood of memories. Memories Eliza had tried to leave behind. Clara approached, her expression a mix of surprise and curiosity. She had not expected to see Eliza here, so far from the life they once knew. The two women talked, their conversation filled with both warmth and an undercurrent of tension. Clara spoke of the past, of the scandal that had driven Eliza west. Her words were not unkind, but the reminder stung. Eliza felt the old shame rise within her, a shadow she thought she had left behind. But Clara also spoke of forgiveness and understanding, a reminder that the past did not define her. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of raised voices. Eliza and Clara turned to see a group gathered around Amos and Caleb. The two men stood apart, tension crackling in the air between them. Eliza's heart sank, fearing a confrontation. Amos spoke first, his voice low and firm. He addressed Caleb, his words carrying the weight of unspoken questions. The travelers watched, sensing the importance of the moment. Eliza felt caught between them, her heart heavy with the choice she faced. Caleb responded, his voice calm but steady. He spoke of the journey, of the challenges they had faced together. He acknowledged Amos's leadership but also his own role in guiding the group. His words were measured, a reflection of his thoughtful nature. The tension between Amos and Caleb was palpable, a conflict that had been building for weeks. Eliza watched, her heart in her throat. She knew this moment was about more than the journey. It was about the future, about the choices they each had to make. As the conversation continued, Eliza found her voice. She stepped forward, her presence a surprise to the gathered crowd. Her heart pounded, but her resolve was firm. She spoke of the journey, of the strength they had found together. Her words were simple but filled with conviction. Eliza addressed Amos and Caleb, her voice steady. She spoke of the respect she had for both men, of the different paths they represented. Her choice was not just between them, but about her own future. She needed to choose for herself, not because of the expectations of others. The crowd listened, their eyes on Eliza. Her words carried weight, a reminder of the strength she had found within herself. Amos and Caleb both nodded, their expressions thoughtful. They respected her decision, understanding the importance of her choice. As the tension eased, the travelers began to disperse. The moment had passed, but the decision still lay ahead. Eliza felt a sense of relief, but also the weight of what was to come. She had spoken her truth, but the path was still uncertain. That evening, the camp settled into its usual rhythm. Eliza sat by the fire, her mind on the future. Clara joined her, their earlier conversations still fresh in her mind. Clara spoke of redemption, of the power of forgiveness. Her words were a balm, a reminder that the past did not have to dictate the future. Eliza listened, her heart full. She thought of Amos and Caleb, of the paths they each offered. Amos was a rock, a source of stability and security. Caleb was like the wind, full of freedom and possibility. Both had their merits, but Eliza knew she had to choose her own way. As the stars appeared in the night sky, Eliza felt a sense of clarity. The journey was far from over, but she was not alone. She had found strength in herself, a quiet confidence that guided her. Amos and Caleb were beside her, each offering something different. The night was quiet, the camp at rest. Eliza lay in her bedroll, her mind on the journey ahead. The path was uncertain, but she felt ready to face it. She was not just a woman on the trail. She was a part of something larger, a journey that was as much about finding herself as it was about reaching a destination. And so, the wagon train moved on, each step carrying them closer to their dreams. Eliza walked among them, her heart full of hope and possibility. The choice was still before her, but she was ready to face it. The journey was far from over, but she was determined to see it through. The days on the trail continued, each one a step closer to the unknown future. The travelers moved steadily, their eyes on the horizon. Eliza felt the weight of her decision pressing on her, but she also felt a growing sense of clarity. The journey had changed her, and she knew the time to choose was near. Eliza walked with purpose, her mind focused on what lay ahead. The path was not just a line through the land, it was a journey of self-discovery. She had come to understand herself better, to know her own heart. The choice between Amos and Caleb was about more than two men. It was about the life she wanted to live. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Eliza found a quiet spot away from the camp. She needed time to think, to listen to her own thoughts without the noise of the group around her. The stars began to appear, twinkling in the vast sky above. Caleb joined her, his presence a comfort. He sat beside her, the silence between them easy and familiar. Caleb spoke softly, sharing his thoughts on the journey, on the choices they all faced. His words were thoughtful, a reflection of his steady nature. Eliza listened, her heart full. She felt drawn to Caleb, to the freedom and possibility he represented. With him, she saw a future where she could be herself, where she could choose her own path. It was a future that promised adventure and discovery. Caleb spoke of his past, of the life he had left behind. He shared his fears, his hopes, and the dreams that had brought him west. Eliza felt a connection, a shared understanding between them. They were both searching for something more, for a life that was true to who they were. As the night deepened, Eliza felt a sense of peace. Her heart was full of hope, her mind clear. She turned to Caleb, her decision made. She spoke of her feelings, of the path she wished to take. Her words were simple, but they carried the weight of her heart. Caleb listened, his expression thoughtful. He understood the importance of her choice, the courage it took to speak her truth. He reached for her hand, a gesture of support and understanding. Together, they sat in the quiet, the stars above a witness to their decision. The next morning, the camp was a buzz of activity. The travelers prepared to move on, their spirits high despite the challenges they faced. Eliza felt a sense of renewed purpose, a confidence in the path she had chosen. Amos approached her, his expression calm. He had seen the change in her, sensed the decision she had made. There was no anger in his eyes, only respect. He spoke to Eliza, his voice steady and kind. He wished her well, acknowledging the strength it took to follow her own heart. Eliza thanked him, grateful for his understanding. Amos had been a part of her journey, a source of strength when she needed it. She respected him, valued the role he had played in her life. But her path was with Caleb, and she was ready to embrace it. As the wagon train moved on, Eliza felt a sense of freedom. The choice had been made, and her heart was light. She walked with Caleb, their steps in sync, their future open and full of promise. Together, they faced the road ahead, ready for whatever it might bring. The days passed, each one a new adventure. The land was vast and open, a reminder of the possibilities that lay before them. Eliza felt a sense of belonging, a connection to the world around her. She was not just a woman on the trail. She was part of something larger, a journey that was as much about the land as it was about the people she traveled with. The travelers reached a milestone, a place where the land stretched wide and the sky seemed to go on forever. It was a moment of reflection, a chance to look back on how far they had come. Eliza stood with Caleb, her heart full of gratitude and hope. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Eliza felt a deep sense of peace. The journey was not over, but she was ready to face whatever came next. She had found her path, a future she had chosen for herself. And so, the wagon train moved on, each step carrying them closer to their dreams. Eliza walked among them, her heart full of hope and possibility. The choice had been made, and she was ready to embrace it. The journey was far from over, but she was determined to see it through. The wagon train reached a small settlement nestled in a valley. It was a place where the land offered promise and the future seemed bright. The travelers looked around, seeing the beginning of what could be a new home. It was a milestone on their journey, a chance to rest and plan for what lay ahead. Eliza felt a mix of excitement and relief. The long journey had been challenging, but it had also been transformative. She had found her path, and now she was ready to build a life with Caleb. The settlement was small but bustling with activity. New arrivals mingled with those who had already started to put down roots. As the travelers settled in, Eliza felt a sense of community forming around her. The people she had journeyed with were no longer just fellow travelers, they were friends and neighbors. Together, they had faced the hardships of the trail, and now they would face the challenges of building a new life. Amos was among those who began to organize the settlement. He was a natural leader, his presence commanding respect. Eliza watched as he spoke with the other settlers, his voice carrying authority and confidence. He was a man who would always find a place to lead and guide others. Eliza approached Amos, her heart full of gratitude. She thanked him for his leadership on the trail, for the strength he had provided when it was needed most. Amos smiled, his eyes warm and understanding. He wished her well, acknowledging the path she had chosen. Amos and Caleb spoke briefly, their words respectful. The tension that had once existed between them had eased, replaced by mutual respect. They were different men but shared a common goal, to see the community succeed. Eliza and Caleb began to plan their future together. There was much to do and they worked side by side, their efforts a reflection of their shared commitment. They spoke of building a home, of planting crops and raising animals. It was a dream they both shared, one that promised stability and happiness. The settlement was alive with the sounds of hammers and saws as new structures rose from the ground. Families worked together, their laughter mingling with the sounds of progress. It was hard work, but the sense of accomplishment was palpable. Eliza found herself at the heart of the community, helping where she could. She organized gatherings, bringing people together to share stories and support. Her nurturing nature shone through, her presence a source of comfort and strength for those around her. Caleb took on the role of scout and protector, his skills invaluable in the new environment. He explored the land, mapping out resources and ensuring the safety of the settlement. His quiet strength and calm demeanor were a steadying influence, providing reassurance to those who needed it. As the days turned into weeks, the settlement began to take shape. New friendships formed and a sense of belonging grew among the settlers. Eliza felt the bonds of community strengthen, her heart full of hope for the future. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the settlers gathered for a celebration. It was a chance to reflect on how far they had come, to honor the journey and the new beginnings it had brought. The air was filled with music and laughter, a testament to the joy of their shared accomplishments. Eliza stood with Caleb, her heart full. They watched as children played, their laughter a reminder of the innocence and promise of youth. The future was bright and they were ready to face it together. Amos joined the gathering, his presence a reminder of the strength and leadership that had guided them. He spoke to the group, his words filled with gratitude and vision for the future. The settlers listened, their hearts united in the common goal of building a life together. As the celebration continued, Eliza felt a deep sense of peace. She had chosen her path and it had led her to a place of belonging and hope. The journey had been long, but it had been worth every step. She was ready to embrace the future, to build a life with Caleb and the community they had found. The night was filled with stars, a reflection of the dreams they all shared. Eliza stood with Caleb, her hand in his, their future open and full of promise. The challenges they had faced had brought them closer, and now they stood ready to face whatever lay ahead. And so, the wagon train's journey had led them to this place, a new home where they could begin again. Eliza was not just a traveler on the trail, she was a part of something larger, a community built on hope and determination. The journey was far from over, but she was ready to see it through, surrounded by the people she cared about and the life she had chosen. The settlement began to grow as the weeks passed, each day bringing new tasks and small triumphs. The land was generous, providing the settlers with resources and hope. Eliza felt a deep sense of belonging here, in this place where dreams were being built from the ground up. Eliza and Caleb worked together, their shared vision guiding their efforts. They planned their home, a modest but sturdy structure that would shelter them from the elements and provide a haven of comfort. It was a labor of love, each nail hammered with care, each board placed with purpose. The community came together to help, the bonds formed on the trail now stronger than ever. Neighbors offered their skills and tools, their laughter and stories making the work light. It was a reminder that they were not alone, that they were part of something greater than themselves. Caleb took on the role of protector, his skills as a scout invaluable in this new land. He explored the surrounding area, mapping resources and ensuring the safety of the settlement. His quiet strength was a reassurance to all, a steady presence that inspired confidence. Eliza found her place among the settlers, her nurturing nature a source of comfort and support. She organized gatherings, bringing people together to share news and help one another. Her efforts helped to create a sense of community, a feeling of unity that was vital in this new world. As the days turned into weeks, the settlement began to take shape. New structures rose from the ground, each one a testament to the hard work and determination of the settlers. Gardens were planted, fields tilled, and hope sown alongside seeds. Eliza and Caleb's home was completed, a cozy cabin nestled among the trees. It was a symbol of their shared dreams, a place where they could build a future together. As they stood in the doorway, hand in hand, they felt a deep sense of accomplishment and peace. The community celebrated the completion of the cabin with a gathering. Neighbors brought food and drink, their laughter mingling with the sounds of the evening. It was a time to reflect on how far they had come, to honor the journey and the new beginnings it had brought. Amos was there, his presence a reminder of the strength and leadership that had guided them on the trail. He spoke to the group, his words filled with gratitude and vision for the future. The settlers listened, their hearts united in the common goal of building a life together. The celebration was a joyous occasion, a testament to the resilience and determination of the settlers. Eliza watched as children played, their laughter a promise of the future. She felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that she had found her place in this new world. As the night deepened, Eliza and Caleb stood together, their hearts full. They looked out over the settlement, the lights of the cabins twinkling like stars in the darkness. The challenges they had faced had brought them closer, and now they stood ready to face whatever lay ahead. The community continued to grow, each day bringing new arrivals and new opportunities. Eliza and Caleb embraced the challenges, their shared vision guiding their efforts. They worked tirelessly, their commitment to each other and the community unwavering. The settlement was alive with activity, the sounds of progress filling the air. Eliza felt a sense of pride in what they were building, a future forged from hope and determination. The journey had been long, but it had been worth every step. As the seasons changed, so did the settlement. The gardens flourished, the fields yielded their bounty, and the community thrived. Eliza and Caleb's cabin became a gathering place, a symbol of the strength and unity that had brought them all together. The challenges they faced were not easy, but they faced them together. The community supported one another, their bonds strengthened by the trials they had overcome. Eliza felt blessed to be a part of something so meaningful, a testament to the power of resilience and hope. The future was bright, and Eliza felt ready to embrace it. She had chosen her path, and it had led her to a place of belonging and peace. The journey was not over, but she was ready for whatever came next, surrounded by the people she cared about and the life she had chosen. And so, the settlement continued to grow, each day a new chapter in the story of their lives. Eliza walked among them, her heart full of hope and possibility. The choice had been made, and she was ready to see it through. The journey was far from over, but she was determined to see it through, surrounded by the people she cared about and the life she had chosen. The settlement had grown into a bustling community. The land was no longer just a place to survive, it was a home. The settlers had worked hard to build their new lives, and their efforts had paid off. The fields were green with crops, and the cabins stood firm against the wind. Eliza stood at the edge of the settlement, looking out over the valley. She felt a deep sense of peace and accomplishment. The journey had been long and hard, but it had brought her to this place of belonging. She had found not only a home but also a community that valued and respected her. Caleb joined her, his presence warm and reassuring. They stood together hand in hand, their hearts full of hope for the future. The challenges they had faced had strengthened their bond, and they were ready to embrace whatever came next. Eliza thought about the journey they had taken to get here. The wagon train had been more than just a path through the wilderness, it had been a journey of self-discovery. She had learned to trust herself, to listen to her own heart. The decisions she had made had led her to this moment, and she felt grateful for every step along the way. The community gathered for another celebration, a chance to reflect on how far they had come. Neighbors brought food and drink, their laughter filling the air. It was a joyful occasion, a testament to the strength and resilience of the settlers. Amos stood with the group, his presence a reminder of the leadership that had guided them. He spoke to the settlers, his words filled with gratitude and hope for the future. The community listened, united in their shared goals and dreams. Eliza watched the children play, their laughter a promise of the future. She felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that she had found her place in this new world. The journey had been challenging, but it had been worth every step. As the night deepened, Eliza and Caleb stood together, their hearts full. They looked out over the settlement, the lights of the cabins twinkling like stars in the darkness. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that they had each other and a community that supported them. The seasons changed, and so did the settlement. The gardens flourished, the fields yielded their bounty, and the community thrived. Eliza and Caleb's cabin became a gathering place, a symbol of the strength and unity that had brought them all together. Eliza felt blessed to be a part of something so meaningful, a testament to the power of resilience and hope. The challenges they faced were not easy, but they faced them together. The community supported one another, their bonds strengthened by the trials they had overcome. The future was bright, and Eliza felt ready to embrace it. She had chosen her path, and it had led her to a place of belonging and peace. The journey was not over, but she was ready for whatever came next, surrounded by the people she cared about and the life she had chosen. Caleb spoke of new opportunities, of the adventures yet to come. His words were filled with excitement and possibility, a reminder that life was an ongoing journey. Eliza listened, her heart full of hope and anticipation. The settlement continued to grow, each day a new chapter in the story of their lives. Eliza walked among them, her heart full of hope and possibility. The choice had been made, and she was ready to see it through. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Eliza felt a deep sense of peace. She had found her place in the world, a community that valued and respected her. The journey had been long, but it had been worth every step. And so, the settlement thrived, a testament to the strength and resilience of the settlers. Eliza stood with Caleb, her heart full of hope and possibility. The journey was far from over, but she was ready to see it through, surrounded by the people she cared about and the life she had chosen. Together, they faced the future, ready for whatever came next. The challenges they had faced had brought them closer, and now they stood strong, ready to embrace the opportunities ahead. The journey had been long, but it had been worth every step. Eliza was not just a traveler on the trail, she was a part of something larger, a community built on hope and determination. The journey was far from over, but she was determined to see it through, surrounded by the people she cared about and the life she had chosen.